Giants 31, Commanders 19. Welcome to Talking Giants presented by SeatGeek. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And Tommy DeVito, 1-1 as a starter, 500. He wins his first game. The Jersey juice is real. Justin, I was watching the Brian Dale press conference. I thought it was very funny because there's been so many stories written about DeVito from New Jersey that it's like it's almost like ironic at this point to like mention that he's from Jersey. And Art, asked Dable, like, hey, is there any juice that he brings? And Art's like, or Brian Dable interrupts him. He's like, he's from Jersey. And Art's like, yeah, I know. So the Giants won a game, Justin, in the midst of all this tank talk. We'll get into the game. There's a lot of good guys, a lot of important people did their job well today, but we'll obviously talk about like the tank implications too. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Obviously, Tommy DeVito is a really cool story, but throughout the game, I kind of had that Larry David gif for looking for every reason to be mad, but I kind of just can't, being like, meh. It's a cool day. The DeVito story is really cool, but honestly, it's probably just more funny than anything. An Italian Guido who probably grew up watching the Jersey Shore, went to Don Bosco, still lives at home, gets chicken cutlets after practice, just won a game at quarterback for the New York Football Giants. In a lost season, I think it's a cool story, especially being a Jersey guy myself. And despite losing being like the best thing that could have happened, kind of felt like the locker room and everyone's trust in each other kind of needed this today.
Yeah, again, I don't think winning this game is more helpful for the team long term than than having a top draft pick. But we'll get into all of that. I actually do want to talk about the whole mindset, and we try for 95% of this podcast to really not address like social media reaction. Like, it's a podcast about the Giants, not a podcast about social media reaction about the Giants. But I do want to do it for this because this is like the first time we've been in this situation, and then we'll get into like all the ins and outs of this game because I thought the Giants offensive coaching staff had a masterful game plan and realizing the personnel that they had and playing the opponent that they were. And then defensively, like after dominating them in that game a few weeks ago, Wink really changed up the entire game plan and self-scouted of ways the Commanders probably were going to adjust. So some like phenomenal coaching, which is what like out of the things that we want to see going forward, do well the rest of the season. What is like top five in there is all these coaches to do well with what they have to put up good game plans, even if the talent ends up losing out, which will happen for the rest of the season most likely. But obviously, you want the Giants to have a better pick, and they fall from the second pick to the fifth pick after the fifth pick after this win. But my thing is like, hey, I'm not going to complain about seeing guys like Kayvons make plays. The offensive staff scheming guys wide open. So I want to hit this from a few angles. First, they are not out of contention from a top two pick. They are very far from out of a contention.
There's 6 games left.
Like next week's game, and again, we said it on the preview pod, Justin, right? I don't think neither one of us thought they would win this game, but we talked about it. Is if there was any game this offense could look functional under Tommy DeVito, it is the Commanders, because they are not just a bad defense, but an undisciplined defense, and that was before they traded away Chase Young and Montez Sweat.
Yeah. And they're badly coached too, which we could talk about that.
Very poorly coached defensively. You play the Patriots next week, or in that top 5 with you. That will be a big decider. And I think the Patriots defense will eat Tommy DeVito alive. And will the Cardinals and Bears win more games? Both of them almost won this week against some good competition, and they also play each other, right? So, and the Cards, I think, probably just going to win some games. So, worst case scenario, like the Bears have a first pick and like the second pick, right? That's and the Giants are third, fourth, fifth. And then you're kind of put in a situation to where you'd have to trade up with the Bears for that second pick. So again, you're not out of the QB sweepstakes. And the last time I heard all of this, like the reaction of like, oh my gosh, this is so horrible. We got our best draft pick since Odell. And the other team had got a guy they ended up trading a third-round pick. And yes, that was against the Commanders in the Chase Young Bowl.
AKA the Andrew Thomas Bowl.
The decider of what will make the Giants being good going forward is if their GM and head coach are really good, right? Not living and dying on one pick. Now, obviously, that one pick can be the difference maker, but again, if they believe that that one of those guys is the guys, or the second guy, like Drake May, say Caleb Williams goes one, Bears take him, then they're shopping pick number two. Then you do what you can to trade up, and you're in as good a position as anybody to do that. And then here's like the ultimate thing. I have no control over what happens, and I'm not going to cry and moan when my favorite team's coaches and players do their job well. One, right? Yep. That's my like meathead, like suck it up take. The second one is, and this is the one that is more like sense. If you can show me a history of having the first or second pick without trading up, consistently leading to teams being championship contenders, I'd be devastated. But that is just not the case. So I'm not going to treat this like a Super Bowl loss, even though at the end of the day, I would rather have the higher pick than this win.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm finally at a point, Bobby, where I'm like, all right, man, I know we can beat the Commanders. And one of the things that I was saying to some people online after the game that were like, well, this is the worst thing that could have happened. It's like, don't worry. There's plenty of more chances to lose. You know how usually, there's plenty of other chances to go out there and win, and we have more games left on the schedule. It's like, don't worry, there's plenty of other games that the Giants could go out there and lose and look really bad again. So don't have no fear. That's probably coming, dude. We just own the Commanders. Like I know people like, yeah, Justin, no shit. Like we've been saying this for years, Justin. I'm finally now at a point where it's like, if the Commanders can't beat Tommy DeVito. And this team that was very, very ready to give up, and especially if they got off to somewhat of a slow start, they would have, the defense would have let their foot off the gas. The offense wouldn't have, if they continue to take sacks and not get these explosive plays, and if that defense was even halfway decently coached up, and not allowing explosive plays, guarantee you the Giants offense wouldn't have, put up points. They put up so many points because the Giants special teams and defense forced 6 turnovers today and only scored 24 points off of those 6 turnovers, which is an insane sentence. We just own the Commanders. So let's see it against an opponent where it's not the Washington Commanders, which odds are, what do the Giants have, a minus 120 something point differential? Maybe even more than that. Not playing the Washington Commanders, and then they have like a plus 11 point differential, whatever, playing the Commanders this year. So we own the Commanders. We know this. Great. Does good for the locker room. Does good for some, the cool Tommy DeVito story. Does good for some people. Great. We have 6 more games left, and odds are they're going to lose. And also, Tyrod Taylor coming back. That will make the Giants competitive in some of these games, that's also if you're a Tank fan, that's like the looming black cloud that's hanging over you right now.
Yeah. So if you are like all in on like, I don't want to hear shit about except for the Giants losing, Tyrod Taylor returning is more detrimental than this individual win against the Commanders.
Correct. I 100% agree with that.
And you're right. We do own the Commanders. We're 7-2-1 in the Talking Giants era. I'm going to start just doing stat books like that in the Talking Giants era.
Yeah. It was also really funny seeing the broadcast of the last time that the Giants did this, that they forced 5 turnovers, that they forced six turnovers, was against the Commanders and so year. The last time that they did this was against the Commanders and so year. And I have one of those stats too.
The Giants, we are to the Commanders what Boston Scott is to the Giants.
Oh yeah. I certainly think it's a little bit worse than that. But yes, 100%. 8 total plays of 20-plus yards for the Giants today. The previous season best was 7 versus the Commanders on October 22nd. Good news, the Giants had 5 plays of 20-plus yards versus the Vikings Christmas Eve last year. That was their best offensive output last year, so good news. We're trending in the right direction in these single games. 7 20-plus yard plays earlier in the year, 8 plus 20-yard plays today against the Commanders. Every regime just loves playing Washington. When was the last time that the Giants had more than 8 plays of 20-plus yards in Giants history? When was the last time that they had more than 8 in one game, Bobby?
Was it the Andrew Thomas Bowl?
It was the Andrew Thomas Bowl against Washington. So look at that. We just love playing Washington. Doesn't matter the regime.
Rivera wasn't the coach of that. That was Jay Gruden still.
That was Jay Gruden.
Was Jay Gruden fired in season?
No, it had to
Yes,
be
he
very
was, because
late.
you remember Ron Rivera was basically lined up to coach him like the day after the season ended.
Jack Del Rio should be fired tomorrow. He
Yeah,
should have
he's
been
a bit.
fired weeks ago, but tomorrow.
Yeah, I actually think Jack Del Rio might be a better head coach than defensive coordinator.
I'd agree with that.
The Giants' offense, though, like they basically schemed up like we're going for it types of plays, and after like the fourth drive, because there was all those sacks, right? But they also had like you said, those explosive plays. And I really think this coaching staff looked at DeVito, right? And you look at that Cowboys game, and obviously the Cowboys are always going to win that game, and they're always going to have a good game versus Tommy DeVito. But DeVito just like couldn't do the basic like stuff, getting the ball out quick, right? And he was just so overwhelmed by pressure that I really think the Giants just had a mindset of like, you know what? We know teams are going to sell out to stop the run. So we're going to work play action number one, and we're going to put in some max protect, long developing plays, and just give DeVito like an open window to just fire the ball in, and then he's going to take sacks regardless of if we're working quick game or not. And that's the way they ended, right? So you have 9 sacks on 36 dropbacks, 25% of the time. That's insane. That's an insane rate to be sacked. But you also had 13.6 yards per completion. You had 9.5 yards per attempt. 7 passes of 15 yards or more, with the Slayton 40-yarder being the longest.
Yes.
So you were just going and creating chunk plays. And yeah, DeVito I don't look at this game and say, oh, DeVito played really well.
No.
I look at this game and say this, like DeVito honestly didn't, I don't think, if you look at this in the grand scheme of things, and we're not judging him on the scale of what you expect from Tommy DeVito, it wasn't this very good quarterback game. It's like he threw to guys that were wide open, and then when they weren't wide open, he took sacks and had boneheaded plays.
Yeah, he still can't throw hot. Like you pointed out, was it the fourth down that they went for it, that they ran a mesh concept and guys were just wide open, and Tommy DeVito takes another sack? It's almost like he's better and more, I don't want to say more accurate. It's almost like he feels more comfortable working near or at or past the sticks than he is working the quick game and getting the ball out quick. It's kind of crazy. So I agree. The Giants, I kind of wish that they went with this maybe a little bit earlier, where not playing afraid of the sack. But the difference between some of the other offensive line performances of earlier in the year, where not every sack is created equally, I definitely think a lot of these sacks that Tommy DeVito took today were a lot of Tommy DeVito sacks, versus earlier in the year, I think a lot of those games were just genuinely bad offensive line games. So that's why I don't want to get too critical of the coaching staff earlier in the year, being like, well, we should have stopped coaching afraid of the sack earlier on in the year, because I think it was a lot of Tommy DeVito sack-led stuff today. He's just more comfortable trying to push the ball downfield than working the quick game, throwing hot, and getting rid of the ball quick.
The majority of the sacks for Tommy DeVito, accredited sacks.
Yeah.
Right. And Brian Dable, go listen to the press conference. They're all asking questions about Tommy DeVito, and I get it, right? Brian Dable basically gives everybody on offense credit except for DeVito. He keeps on going back. Yeah, he had all those sacks though. He's like, good. He said, good job by Kafka, called a good game, scheming guys wide open, and mentioned plays. Mentioned, he's like, I thought the guys protected pretty well, but he took a lot of sacks that weren't on them. He was kind of giving everybody but DeVito credit, which was a little funny. And then obviously Saquon made big plays in this game. Credit to DeVito on those too, though. I actually thought those were his best 2 throws. Were the first 2 ones to the one on the first drive where he scrambled and threw to Saquon, and then the touchdown throw was really nice by DeVito.
The wheel route was really nice. Kind of.
Yeah.
Saquon's got to contort his body a little bit. So, I mean, the throws were nice. And, you got to give credit to the quarterback for delivering the ball against wide open guys. But I think it's a combination of, man, that Darius Slayton 40-yard touchdown was just so bad. Hey, a pick play that the Giants run, that number one doesn't get called as offensive pass interference. Hallelujah. And then Brian Dable loses his shit. Beautifully executed pick, where I think they stack the formation to the right. There's no deep safety, or there's nobody dropping back in zone playing that other side of the field. So Slayton just runs across her, He has one man to beat, does a little hezzy, beats him with speed, touchdown Giants, and it's just like, hey, like I'm celebrating this deep explosive play, but I'm also thinking to myself, fire Jack Del Rio, because what the hell was that defense?
Yeah, I went through some of the big plays and like want to explain what happened on them because Dable did a great job, but also did a great job of taking advantage of a bad Jack Del Rio called defense, right? So one thing was, and this is the Saquon credit, is that they were selling out to stop the run. Selling out, right? And I have, first half, second half stats for Saquon that we'll get to in a second. So the first touchdown drive, you get a 3rd and 13, you run a dagger concept, right? So they're actually sitting in zone, but you get protection. Tommy DeVito hangs in there, throws it, fires in a nice pass for 24 yards to Slayton. That's a good throw. And then the Saquon first receiving touchdown was, again, good play calling. You get in 3-by-1, so you get 3 guys on the left side. Bellinger's the one on the right, but you have him lining up close to the formation, and you have him attack the center field safety. You put Saquon on the wheel. Bam, DeVito puts a good throw on him, right? The Slayton touchdown, that was a 3rd and 1, right? And they essentially had no safety, right? They had no safety playing deep. They run play action. They all crash. And like you said, they had that wave mesh concept down the field, and Slayton's wide ass open, right? And then you get Daniel Bellinger up the sideline out of the backfield. You motion Wandale, you do a play action to Saquon, fake end around to Wandale, and Bellinger comes out of the backfield as a fullback. He's wide open, right? And then the second Saquon touchdown, again, you get in a 3-by-1. You have those 3 all run crossers across the field. You have the one run across her, and then you have Saquon leak out of the backfield, and he gets open for a touchdown, right? And then even the plays that DeVito didn't hit, and I'm sure there'll be more when I get to see all 22 film of this, but you mentioned that 4th and 2, right? One, that's a bad sequence by Tommy DeVito. You have a 3rd and 2. I don't understand why Slayton, Wandale, and Saquon were off the field, but he should have pulled that anyways. And then 4th and 2, and then you have to call a timeout. Run the most amazing mesh concept where all 3 progressions were wide open. The first progression on that is the Saquon wheel rail route, right? The safety does not play on it. He gets inside, should have thrown it, right? That's your first read, should have thrown it. But guess what? That's not the most blatantly open throw in the world.
There were 2 other guys that were open.
Bellinger, the middle linebacker blitzes. So, and the safety still plays deep. Bellinger is wide open on the sit route, right? And then they basically doubled Slayton at the beginning of the snap. And then Slayton's open on the 3rd progression. And then Dominic DeVito's just running around and not throwing. Like he should have 100% thrown to either Saquon or Bellinger, and then still could have gotten the ball to Slayton, ends up throwing it away, and they turn over the ball on down. So, and again, Dave, that's something that Dable emphasized in the press conference. So, there was, with good quarterback play, man, this could have been like a 49-50 point outing.
But I really don't want to rip. I don't want to sit here ripping Tom. Tom, we know that he's not an NFL quarterback yet.
It's not me totally ripping Dominic DeVito, because again, there should be a different standard for DeVito than there is other NFL quarterbacks, right? He's 3rd string, undrafted free agent rookie, shouldn't be in this situation. But it's less of that and more of me just praising how open guys were, and praising this coaching staff for getting these guys in that spot. Because you can talk about how, they were undisciplined, but that was one of the things that fucking drove me nuts about the last coaching staff, right? When we played the super undisciplined Seahawks and the super undisciplined Cowboys before Dan Quinn showed up, and it's like, man, these guys, do you know how you take advantage of undisciplined defenses? By attacking them, not by running a stick concept 15 times, right? And that's what they did, and they had all these explosive plays from it.
Yeah. So now I'm officially at the point where I want to see this from another team not named Washington. And I hate to be one of those fans, and because I think a good game, a good offensive output game, and a game where you get so many explosive pass plays, I am now finally reaching that stereotypical Giants fan being like, yeah, I know we could do it against Washington, and it low-key doesn't matter against what regime. We could do it any regime that we could do this against Washington. I want to see it against another team. But again, I will 100% agree with you being like, yeah, I'm glad that Dable and Kafka came with an offensive game plan against a quarterback that relatively had a bad game, but we still had all these explosive plays. I think that's a credit to coaching, and I think that's a credit to Saquon Barkley doing what he does. I think it's a credit to some of the offensive line guys. I know even some of the sacks. I know John Michael Schmidt struggled a little bit. I know Jonathan Allen beat Justin Pugh on one of those sacks. So credit to these guys on offense. Darius Slayton had a good game. Wandale had a good game. So credit to these guys on offense
not
that
injured
stepped
long
up.
term.
Yeah. Finally drafted Darius Slayton in fantasy. Got a good week.
And he's leading the Giants in receiving again. So we talk about things we're invested in. I'm invested in Darius Slayton leading the Giants in receiving for the fourth time in 5 years.
I don't think Waller's going to come back when his IR window opens up.
We'll see. I mean, he has the bye week, right? So they have a big, long window. But yeah, there's absolutely no guarantees or optimism that that's happening.
Yeah.
It also helps when you create 6 turnovers, 3 interceptions, and 3 fumbles. I want to talk about teams are like the Commanders did more than the Dallas, but Dallas did too. They are keying in on Saquon, especially in the first half. Look at these stats. The first two, with Tommy DeVito as the starter, the last 2 first halves, Saquon 13 carries for -1 yards. In the second half, 14 for 146 yards. So negative yards per carry versus over 10 yards per carry in halves. And I do think that is the Commanders specific. Again, we're just selling out. You have 6 carries for -2 yards. And that's another thing we can credit the coaching staff with is despite the fact that you had DeVito at QB, you didn't just sit there and just hand it off to Saquon and being like, well, hopefully we don't turn over the ball and we can push our way down to 13 points.
Right. Bobby, can I talk about something before we continue to talk about Saquon? Because I also have some running
Yeah,
points.
we can do that.
Yeah, let's talk about something. Little tease. Why have you talked about Saquon enough? Well, guess what? You gotta wait a couple more minutes because we gotta talk about cushy dreams. That's right. The world can be a crazy, stressful, overwhelming place. So what do you want to do when you just want to forget all that and chill? Our friends at Cushy Dreams, they got you. Cushy Dreams is the finest in legal cannabis. That's products like smokable Delta 8 CBD flower and pre-rolls, and they've got gummies. I'm a big gummy bear guy. Their Delta 9 THC gummies contain the same active type of THC as the stuff they only sell at the dispensary. They come in strawberry. I'm a big strawberry guy. Sour watermelon, green apple, and tangerine. And everything from Cushy Dreams is federally legal in the United States and discreetly shipped to you. And they're running a giveaway. One winner will get a pack of Cushy Dreams product worth over $250. Whoa! That includes pre-rolls, gummies, and more. And how to win. You're automatically entered when you make a purchase this month and use promo code GIANTS25. Each purchase counts as one entry, 21 plus. So go to cushydreams.com, KUSHY dreams.com, and use promo code GIANTS25. That's GIANTS, the number 25 for 25% off your next order. That's 25% off an entry to win free stuff with promo code GIANTS25. Bobby Skinner, you'll be glad you did. And I want to give Mike Kafka credit. Look at that seamless transition. I want to give Mike Kafka credit too, because what was it? 6 attempts for -1 yard, and then finally, it was in that second half, in the third quarter, where they start calling these pitch plays, and then that's when the running game kind of opens up, and you see all the big explosive Saquon Barkley running plays.
Yeah, those linebackers were selling out up the middle, right? I think so, and they don't have the most athletic linebackers either, outside of Jamin Davis, who it's a little bit of a slow processor. So, like you said, get outside the tackles. You have Andrew Thomas. You got Bellinger you use as a fullback. It seems like they're using Tyree Jackson, who is bigger than Cager, as more than Lawrence Cager, because Tyree Jackson, I guess, can block a little better than Lawrence Cager, but it's still with Chris Myrick got cut, and yep. I think that was a move to bring him back, but I don't know because he got released from IR.
Did he get claimed by anybody?
No.
Okay, then.
But I think when you get released from the reason you would release him from IR is to possibly bring him back because he's healthy. But anyways, I don't feel like getting into a Chris Myrick thing right now.
I know you want.
But yeah, Saquon, like we said before, the receipt, that first touchdown catch was great throw from DeVito, and we vote the Saquon receiving conversation is always the most annoying because no one listens to each other. It's Saquon is not the best receiving back in the NFL, right? But he's such an athlete and a weapon that he is a receiving weapon, even if he's not the best route runner or anything, and you can't really you're not going to use him to like be a chain mover. You're going to be use him to use explosives, and that's what they did in this game. And guess what? He's their receiving touchdown leader this year. He has 4. Second, we just played the game on the preview pod, Justin. The second is like 6 different guys with 1.
Did Slayton take the lead in that?
No, they're all tied with 1 because Slayton didn't have any.
Oh, Slayton didn't have one. Okay, congratulations.
Yeah, who's our interception leader?
I saw you tweet this out, Darnay Holmes, but I can't remember the other ones that Darnay Holmes has.
Yeah, last week versus the Cowboys.
So we had some guys tied with 1, and then Darnay Holmes has 2, and now he's good.
Yeah, everyone else has 1.
Pinnock should have had 1, and that would have been 2 for him.
Yeah, he would have been tied for the lead. But
right,
yeah,
so you're not coming away from this game saying like, oh, the Giants should be using Saquon Barkley more as a receiver like this. Like, that's
no,
not how you're
I do. I think you use him where you can see his athleticism shine and not in like quick game type stuff. Well, you use him in like the flats and the flares and stuff like that. But when you do have some confidence in protection, and that's the other issue, right? Like if Saquon was on the Eagles, he'd have much better receiving stats, right? Because they can block with 5. The Giants, for the most part, can't. So Saquon does suffer from that, from having to stay in protection, and he's become a pretty good blocking back, despite that he did give up a sack today. But it's like the longer developing plays as when Saquon can be his best down the field, right? When just when you have time to protect and let him get down the field from out of the backfield, not lining him up out wide, but lining him up out of the backfield. Which, again, I think all of his receiving touchdowns are from out of the backfield. What was the one? What was the second one? So the Cardinals won.
Did he have one against the... No, he didn't have... No, Burrito had the only touchdown against the Niners.
It was the Cardinals 2 this week, and I think it might have been a Tommy DeVito one.
Like in garbage time?
Yeah, maybe versus the Raiders.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm not going to stress over that right now. Defensively, Justin. Created 6 turnovers with 3 interceptions and 3 fumbles, and the Giants did score 24 points off those turnovers. 4-play, 48-yard touchdown drive off the Flott forced fumble, 5-play, 68-yard touchdown drive off the Okereke forced fumble, then a 46-yard field goal drive off the Darnay Holmes interception, and then the Isaiah Simmons pick 6 itself. Who is like the guy you want to talk about on defense, and why is it Kayvons Thibodeau?
No, I mean, I thought you were gonna go in the direction of who's like the player of the game, in your opinion. I first would want to talk about Dex.
Yeah, Dex. I mean, Kayvon had much better stats than Dex, but obviously Dex is the best player on this defense by a mile.
I mean, Dex forced like turnovers too. Like, just dude, that play was so impressive. Where Jonathan Vilma was talking about it too. It was Sam Howell, was that the Darnay interception? The one that was just a lame duck that hung in the air forever.
Yeah, that was a Darnay interception, which I thought was a great play from Wink too.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because Jonathan Vilma pointed out, Sam Howell probably is not thinking that. Sam Howell probably thinks that he has all the time in the world to set his feet and throw a deep 50-50 ball. And I think it was Jahan Dotson that was down there. So yeah, you could say it's not a smart decision with 2 Giants defenders down there. But Dexter Lawrence gets there. I mean, he just moves in the open field. He's 350 pounds, and he's not supposed to move like that in the open field. And he has the quickness. He's fast for a 350-pounder. So Sam Howell probably doesn't think that Dexter Lawrence is going to get there, but he hits his arm, and it's a lame duck that sits up in the air for 20 seconds, and Holmes is able to come down with the interception. But you want to talk about schematics.
Well, even on that play, right? Like, again, you saw that first Commanders game. They lined up in cover 0. They blitzed the piss out of him. They played man coverage the entire game, right? Wink didn't do that in this game. And you're going to look at like the total yards and stuff, and it's going to look a lot worse, but you created turnovers. And you can't – the interception – turnovers are – when turnovers are fumbles, they're a lot less predictable in what you play, but they did have interception. They did have 2 interceptions anyways.
They're poking that shit out, though.
Yeah, no, I'm saying that's the good coaching, but that's not like your schematics of like playing man versus zone.
Right. Yes.
And again, you look at, they ran the ball pretty damn well, and that was because they played a lot of their zone. Like, they played in mostly zone coverages, but even like they didn't get it. They didn't even like fake those cover 0 looks a lot. But the one of the couple times they did was that Darnay interception. And what did Sam Howell do from the start of that snap? When he got in that cover zero look, that was the game planning. They didn't get to it much because they didn't get that look. He immediately sprints out of the pocket. Immediately sprints out of the pocket, but guess what? Wink drops everybody back. You're in a regular zone coverage, and now you just sprint out of the pocket for no reason at all. And now you just cut off, 2/3 of the field essentially when guys are working deep too. So like there was some good stuff like in those coverages, and again it led to it literally led to that Darnay interception. The Nick McLeod interception was great, right? Where he's watching that safety, he sees the safety bite down, but McLeod kind of knows they're running that Mills concept, which is the deep post, and then that deep in route that's supposed to take part of the safety. They know, hey, they're going to throw the deep post to De'Ami Brown. They don't throw anything else but that to De'Ami Brown. McLeod just stays deep on it, doesn't let him stack him, and gets that interception. And then obviously the fumbles by Okereke, Flott, and who had the other forced fumble?
Okereke. I think Okereke.
One was on special teams.
Yeah, but Okereke had 2 forced fumbles, I believe.
Yeah. So
yes, he did.
That's just good individual coaching on those cats to make those plays. So there was a lot of good defensive stuff and playing to the personnel that you had out there, right? Noah Dore, Flott had to leave the game early for an ejection, which was kind of silly.
On the officials, call the play dead and learn how to use their microphones.
Yeah. Well, maybe the microphones just weren't working because nothing else was working in FedEx Field.
Oh my God! I tweeted out sarcastically, and maybe some people didn't get it. I tweeted out just in case you missed it, the showers aren't working at FedEx Field. Like everybody tweeted out at the same time. Like, yeah, we get it. Showers.
Well, that's one of those things where you can't be. You can't. It is funny because when everyone tweets out the same thing at once, but that's one of those things. You are racing to be the first person that tweets that out because it's going to do.
You also know that you have to know that you're not the first person to tweet it out if it's.
Yeah, but sometimes and you're just like, hey, I got to tweet this out because I know I'll get at least some interaction off of it. We didn't tweet. We just quote tweeted Charlotte and just said shithole FedEx Field.
Yep. Just rag on that. But let's talk about Kayvon. I had a thought before the game, and I didn't tweet it out. Thank God I didn't tweet it out. I had a thought before the game. Kayvon's been pretty quiet since that Jets game. And
that's 2 games, but yeah.
I know. I know 2 games. But again, a 5th overall pick. We want a 5th overall pick that transcends and impacts the game, impacts every single game. But it was like not just quiet. It was crickets, Bobby. And I know it's 2 games, but it was crickets, and that's not what we should expect from the 5th overall pick of last year's draft. And I was even glad, remove the 2 sack plays. I was just happy with his game. I was happy with the way that he was playing the run. I was happy with even some of his plays where he wasn't getting sacks. I was happy with how he was working the left tackle, and I was happy with some of the moves that he was doing. So, that's what I want to start doing for Kayvon Thibodeau, because people are going to react to the sacks. I want to be like, in my head, remove the sacks from Kayvon Thibodeau from Kayvon's game. Did he still have a good game? And for this game, I say yes, he still had a good game when you take out the sacks, and then you include the sacks, and lo and behold, he's the first player under the Wink Martindale scheme to have 10 plus sacks, blah, blah, blah. He gets 10 sacks in 11 games. Awesome stuff. Good from Kayvon.
Well, the sacks 100% matter a ton, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I want to start removing from them and still saying, did Kayvon have a good game? And for this game, it was yes. There are other games this year where he had a sack, and it's like, well, Kayvon still played a bad game, but because he had a sack in the box score, fans are satisfied with the game.
I disagree. I think the only game you can point to that is the 49ers game, right? Like the Seahawks game, was he freaking going crazy? No, but he did make plays, and he did make those sacks, the same with the Dolphins game too. It's if he's consistently being able to do that, like that type of shit, like those are drive-ending plays, and not everyone can make the sacks that he gets, right? And he's getting them in a bunch of different ways that he's doing it. But again, he had 3 QB hits, 2 tackles for a loss in this game. Like he's starting to really stuff up the stat sheet. And yeah, there is there growth in Kayvon's game? Absolutely. But you look at me and you show me the advanced numbers and all that after year 2, 11 games, I'm happy, right? Like again, We don't. I don't have any. I don't have expectation to be like top pass rusher in the NFL. Myles Garrett, Joey Bosa type cat. But man, he's like he is on his way to a pretty damn good pass rusher. And like you said, there's still a lot. He's able to do these types of things, and there still is a lot of room for growth too. So, um, yeah, obviously there times and games where he goes. Yeah, he's streaky. He is a streaky player, right?
Yeah.
And we need him to be better versus better competition. Um, but playing against Mekhi Becton, having that game, who I think is a pretty solid left tackle in the NFL when he is actually healthy and playing, that was a big. I thought that was a big moment for him, especially with the criticism that was coming that week for him. So yeah, but I mean, having 10.5 sacks in Wink Martin, like that's no coincidence, right? And that's the conversation we had all offseason. Like, we said don't be mad if he doesn't have the sack numbers, and he's like doing that, right? And there's not many guys that can do that.
Matt Judon went on to New England and was kind of like a defensive player of the year candidate in his first year up in New England, and that was after playing in a Wink Martindale scheme, which doesn't prioritize edge rushers getting sacks necessarily. So we're 11 games in. Kayvons has 10.5 sacks. Like the two categories of forcing negative plays, right? Sacks and tackles for loss. We're 11 games in, and both of those categories are double digits, and that's awesome. That's great.
That reminds me, I want to look something up on like that after the game or after this podcast.
Let's do a quiz because I saw Do a Barrel Roll did this. Who are the last 5 Giants with 10 plus sacks in a single season? Name them.
Leonard Williams,
2020, yes.
Marcus Golden,
2019, yes.
Vernon didn't do it.
Nope.
JPP has to be one of them.
JPP in 2014 and 2011, so there's one more.
Oh, so we're counting.
So there's 5 seasons, I should say. 5 Giants with 4 Giants, but 5 seasons.
Ayers didn't get 10, did he?
No, he did not. But he did lead the team in sacks in 2015, but did not get 10.
I'm going to say OC.
No, Justin Tuck, 2013.
Oh, yeah, Tuck. I didn't realize. Yeah, okay. I kind of got 4 out of 5. That's good.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Good quiz. I love trivia.
Is there another quiz I want to give you?
I'm excited for this week's versus the Patriots. Danny better come with some like relevant, like not obvious Super Bowl or regular season games from those Super Bowl trivia, but like stuff that's like it better not be any question from like the 1988 Giants Patriots game.
Danny keeps saying that he's running out of trivia. That's actually impossible.
That doesn't make any sense, Danny King.
Danny's acting like we've been doing this podcast for 20 years and he's running out of we've been doing this segment for like 2 or 3.
Yeah. No way we're running out of trivia.
We're not running out of trivia.
Well, there is sometimes if he asks us questions about like the 80s and stuff, it's like, yeah, he has those trivia questions, but it's like we're just guessing.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to pretend like we were there watching those games live. Yeah, so the Nick McCloud, Isaiah Simmons. Did you see a fan threw a beer can at Isaiah Simmons as he fell into the end zone?
Missed.
If you look at all the replies, I bet you the first 10 are like, did Sam Howell throw it?
Can I have an observation? This could be completely wrong. Is Research Rick in this chat right now? I think he tweeted about it. No, he's not. Doug,
the defensive tackle usage and stuff?
No. I need to see Isaiah Simmons' speed that he hit on the interception return. I was excited that he got the ball in his hands and he was going down the sideline because I'm like, okay, Isaiah Simmons, open field speed, here we go. I was expecting him to be faster.
What?
By my eye test. There's a couple players.
So will interceptions count as ball carrier?
Yes, they do.
All right, let's see. Week 11. Saquon's 5th for the week at 20.45 on the 31-yard rush.
I think he had 2 plays that were fast this week. Does it list Isaiah Simmons?
No, not in the top 20. So he didn't hit 19.86 miles per hour.
Did not.
Ron Bland did, though. He had another interception this week.
Dude, he's so
touchdown.
good. And I just
One of
saw
my
the,
takes when Diggs went down, I was like, yeah, I think the Cowboys defense is going to be able to survive without Diggs. But like Diggs makes him such an advantage because of the turnovers he creates. And I literally said, is Deron Bland going to get those interceptions? And look at me.
yeah, Deron Bland. And just the way that, dude, he leaked, I think it's like close to an NFL record in the amount of pick sixes that he's had in a year. And he's just so good with the ball in his hands, too. Just like a natural cut. It's like he looks like whenever a Giants player gets an interception in their hands, looks like they're just like a newborn deer. And they're like, oh, I'll fall down. But he just knows what he's doing with the ball in his hands. It's kind of crazy. I'm waiting for Doug Analytics.
What Senior Bowl receiver had the highest speed of the week?
It down in Mobile?
No, this week.
Tank Dell, probably.
No, Jaden Reed, who again is not like the fastest guy in the world either. It was actually crazy. On a rushing play too.
That's crazy. All right, so we talked about Okereke. I thought he would be faster. That was an observation.
I mean Simmons, but yes.
Who did I say?
Okereke also, even though the run defense was lacking,
good transition.
Okereke did play very well.
I want to talk about Bobby Okereke because how many turnovers has he forced this year?
I mean, he's had his hand in three interceptions, 2 tipped up and 1 for himself. 2 forced fumbles
today. He had 2 forced fumbles today.
He had 2. Did he have the forced fumble on the special teams play? By the way, who picked up the fumble on the special teams play?
Your guy, Javarius Owens.
Always around the ball, Javarius Owens.
Bobby Okereke has 2 forced fumbles on the year. He does not have any fumble recoveries, and that does not count today. So that's a total of 4 forced fumbles on the year. What other? So then you said three plays where there have been interceptions.
Yeah, he intercepted 1, and then he tipped up 1 to McFadden versus the Bills and 1 to Pinnock versus the Dolphins.
I feel like there's more, but forcing having your hand in 5 turnovers in 10 games is crazy.
Yeah, Flott's forced fumble was really cool too. Did you see? All right, so do you have like any other like analysis and stuff from the game?
No. I just want to emphasize, like I really Okereke is a really good signing, and I'm glad that he's here, and I'm glad that he's still like playing his ass off. And at least I think it is like
took him a few weeks too, and he's now just super confident in this defense.
And I like seeing the growth. Not coming in from day one and just be like I'm a stud, but I like seeing the growth and being comfortable, and the way that he plays. Too. The way that he plays and the way that he leads, like that's almost like I don't know how he speaks, and I don't know if he's like a leader by the words that he says, but at least he's being a leader by example, where I'm not just going to go in and make a tackle. I'm going to try and get that ball out and jam that ball out every single opportunity that I could get. I'm going to dive and I'm going to make insane coverage plays. Like he's giving his all and he's busting his nut out there, and I like that could set an example for a defense and even a young secondary that needs to see that kind of stuff. And I think Micah McFadden has benefited from it as well. So awesome.
What's he busting out there?
His nut.
No, you're supposed to. Oh my god, it's busting his hump. Anyways,
busting his nut.
Did you see the Deontay Banks Instagram live or the clip of it?
Yeah, I like it. I'm a fan of it.
Here's the thing.
Did he have a bad game?
Well, both Commanders' touchdowns were Deontay Banks. Like, he gave a touchdown to Jahan Dotson, and then he had that weak-ass tackle attempt on the Sam Howell play that led to the fight. Right? And again, I'm not like... And he kind of was like, well, did 17 play in this game? He didn't line up on McLaurin most of the game. Like, they played sides this game, and they played zone coverage. Like, he wasn't lined up on McLaurin.
Maybe he was asking, did 17 play in this game because he didn't see him too much. So he was
maybe that's what it was. But even though McLaurin didn't have like a typical McLaurin, he did have 5 catches for 43 yards. Like, it's not as so. I love the confidence, but a part of me is like, yeah, if I was a Commanders fan, I would be like, what is wrong with you? Like, you gave up a touchdown. You gave up essentially 2 touchdowns, and you didn't even cover McLaurin. That would be very triggered by that, even though Forbes
too bad.
Has probably
beat the Giants. Beat the Giants.
That is true. So But hey, cornerback is a confidence position, and sometimes it needs to be. Sometimes you to be good at cornerback. Sometimes you need to have confidence even when it's not even earned confidence, right? Like
Right.
you gotta have some arrogance to it, right? Like
I think
that's
that
part
was
of the
more or
position.
less that was more or less the Commanders passed on me and they took Emmanuel Forbes, who was not a conventional first round pick. They took Emmanuel Forbes over Deontay Banks, and that's what that was about. It wasn't about Terry McLaurin and I locked him down. It was about this team that I thought maybe
Well, he
could have
pinned
taken
the.
me in the draft. And also, I think he grew up a Commanders fan too. So now he's like, fuck them. I'm a Giant.
Oh,
They passed on me in the draft. Let's go. I
that
think
makes
that's
more
really what it's about.
sense. That he grew up a Commanders fan. Actually, no, he grew up a Ravens fan. You're wrong.
Well, then somebody on the internet lied. All right, he's from the DC area, I guess. I don't know.
He's from Maryland. Crab cakes and football. Uh, anything else? Anything else we got?
Anything else we got? No, we won a game. The world's not going to end. Don't worry. There's plenty of more chances to go out there and get our ass kicked. Don't you worry.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, so
You're
that
undefeated
is
at Giants games though. That's
it's
the
one
thing.
of the few things that I do get a little triggered about still online. It's like it might be why like one I have all like the reasoning now in this season it's better for the Giants to lose games because the season's over. You're not playing a quarterback, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But it's the other part of it is like, you know what? It's just way less annoying to just tell you guys to deal with it too. Like the tanking conversation is the most annoying shit in the world, as much as I am in on the tank. All right. That's an episode. We'll be back Wednesday for a mailbag pod. Congrats to Tommy DeVito on his first win of
We di-
thousands of wins to come for the guy.
we didn't talk about him doing this.
That was the thing.
The
Yeah, that was
thing.
good. We need to get a lot of pizza people on Patreon this week to celebrate. And here's the thing: is he's going to be 2-1 because guess who's coming up to the game next weekend?
I just mentioned that and you just went right by it. You're undefeated at Giants games. What is this? We need to make an official decision. Like if they lose, do you still win?
No, we don't do gimmicks with my thing. The Giants either win or they lose. There's no gimmicks
You could
involved
say
in this.
that you could say that the Jason Garrett thing was a gimmick.
There's no gimmicks involved. Sometimes you forget that not everyone listened in 2021.
Okay.
Um, we'll see you guys on Wednesday for a mailbag pod. Until then, let's go Big Blue.